Okay, so yes, welcome everyone. We will get started now. Hopefully you can hear me and you can see the screen. So the purpose of this session is really to meet your teachers, and we have Mrs. Hall and Mrs. Norfolk here, ready to talk you through year 3, what you can expect. There'll be all sorts of information about the structure of the school day, the types of things they're learning about, and how also you can help at home with things like homework. There will be a chance at the end to ask any questions that you have. What would be really helpful as we go through, if you have questions, just pop them in the chat and then we can ask those questions at the end, and there will be time to shout any questions out at the end as well that you think would really be beneficial to everyone to hear. Okay, without further ado, let me pass over to Mrs. Hall and Mrs. Norfolk.
Hello. So it's lovely to see so many people here. Our first slide is just showing you who our team is, basically. So I'm Mrs. Hall, I teach Antelopes class.
And I'm Mrs. Norfolk, and I share with Mrs. Dodds, and I'm usually in on a Thursday and Friday, and Mrs. Dodds does Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
And the rest of our team is down there as well. So we've got Mr. Carlo, Mrs. Thompson, who are our TAs. And they're kind of based in classes at the moment, but we will be sharing them across the year group. We've got Mrs. Nagira as well, who is a TA for a one-to-one in my class. So she's mainly based in Antelopes. So that's our whole team that we'll be dealing with this year. So we've just given you a basic outline of how each day is going to run. It's very similar. We've got slight differences in our timetable. So we thought we'd run through Antelopes first and then Giraffes. So in Antelopes, the children come in and they do arithmetic while we do the register. Then we start maths and we do a whole hour of maths together. And then we do whole class reading, sometimes a bit of story time, and then into assembly. We're having assemblies 3 days a week at the moment. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, we've got that little bit of extra time, which we'll be using to consolidate our reading and to do share lots of stories with children. Playtime we have at 10:50. Then Antelopes come in, they do a bit of spelling and grammar, and then into an English lesson, which sometimes will be writing, sometimes might be practicing. In English, we build up to a piece of writing. So it's the same as it has been previously, where we spend a couple of weeks building up, and then we spend sort of 3, 4, 5 days doing one long piece of writing in their books. We have lunch 12:15 to 1:15. Then Antelopes come in and do sounds right. Now this is not new to your children because they started it in year 2. It's the phonics that they started last year. So we're continuing from where they left off with the phonics. So they get the full program. And that's new to year 3 this year. We haven't done that before, but it's something we will be carrying on through the school. So Antelopes do that at about 1 when they come in at 1:15. Then the afternoons we do different foundation subjects. So I think we already know Monday, Friday is PE. Thursday we have our computing session, and the rest of the afternoons it tends to swap round depending on what we've got in the planning, whether it's a big, like a long lesson or a short lesson. So that will be on sort of different afternoons. So Giraffes is very similar, but just a very slightly different routine.
Yes, we do registration and then catching up, early work, usually a bit of maths. And then we go straight into our sounds right, and we do that first thing. And then that follows on with our English and whatever SPAG we're doing, which also links to their homework. So whatever they're doing during the week links to what we're giving them at homework. Then we do go into our assembly and playtime. First thing in the morning, we also try and do our daily readers, which we read with, and I think Antelopes do that as well. We have daily readers every day. Then after play, we do our arithmetic and our maths lesson. And then we do, after lunch, our whole class reading and then our foundation subjects in the afternoon, very similar to what Antelopes do. But all our subjects are the same, we just do it in different orders.
So this is the curriculum that we follow, which is the same from Key Stage 1, I think, except the addition of French. So it's all of the same subjects that they've had before, continuing on the learning. So yeah, there's a big list there, which I'm not going to read to you. And then we've got our modern foreign languages at the end, which we do French in year 3, which they'll continue all the way up to year 6.
Year 3, we do really good topics in year 3. We love teaching them. They're always really good fun. And as you probably know from our autumn 1 topic, Scrumdiddlyumptious, the children absolutely loved making the chocolate and having the chocolate workshop. So that was our spark and our starter for this topic. And it's really helped them with thinking about, you know, how chocolate looks and tastes and how they love to eat it. So that's really helped in their writing.
And where it comes from. And yeah.
And then that links to our geography. Where the chocolate comes from is we do a lot of fair trade and we look at different countries. So it links to our geography. Then we go on in autumn 2 to do Gods and Mortals, which is ancient Greece. And we are having a workshop coming in to do an ancient Greek production, and then they get the children involved and they do a workshop, and they always have loads of fun with that.
It's all based around Greek myths, isn't it? So we look at various different myths and compare them and write our own and link that to the history as well. Yeah, okay. So spring is heroes and villains, which hopefully we'll get to teach in person this year. That's where we look at sort of significant figures from the past, and we do Black history, lots of different famous people, whether they were heroes and villains, and we link it to our English. We look at the Iron Man as a text and link it to that as well.
And 101 Dalmatians.
And we look at Cruella de Vil as well, so 101 Dalmatians for that. And then the second half of the spring is Tremors, which is fabulous. It's all about volcanoes. And we link it to a text called Escape from Pompeii, which is all about Mount Vesuvius erupting. So that again links to our geography and our history and science as well. We look at rocks and soils to feed into that.
And then summer 1 is Stone Age, and we always try and take the children to a Stone Age village so they can see what life was like previously. And it's a really good history area where they start off their whole sort of chronological order of history through British history and ancient history. And they absolutely love it. It's a really fun topic. We look at a book called Ugg, and we look at Stone Age Boy as our reading texts. And we also, we read Stig of the Dump, so that the children absolutely love this topic, and it's always really good fun to do. And then summer 2, we look at predators and different birds of prey, and we have, we call him the bird man. We have the man that comes in with birds of prey, and the children get to see them fly and even get to hold them if they want to.
Yeah, that was my favourite, I think, last year.
So lots and lots of really fun and engaging topics to get the children writing.
So we've talked about some of these, but we've got a lot of topics. We do one every half term, which not all year groups do, some spread them over a term, but they're all really, really good. And we start all of them with a spark day, which is just something to grab their interest. So for Scrumdiddlyumptious, we did the food day where we did the fruit tasting and the cake decorating, and then we had the chocolate workshop as well later in the week. So we have, which I think you've already had a letter about, the Hobgoblin Theatre for Gods and Mortals. They come in and do a play of
Theseus and the Minotaur, Perseus and Medusa.
Yeah, I think it was Medusa last year, but they come and do one of the Greek myths and act it out for us, which is great. And
we encourage them to dress up, the children, if they want to. They don't have to, but they always love dressing up as an ancient Greek god or coming in as a character from a myth.
Yeah, so that's an option, and that will be communicated nearer the time. The GeoBus was for Tremors. And we had to do it all virtually last year, but I think they actually bring a bus, don't they?
They do,
and you go on, and there's lots of things to do with volcanoes and rocks. And I mean, the virtual version of it was great last year.
Hands-on will be really good.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to do that in person, which will be fabulous. But it's just to get them excited about the topic. Butser Farm is for our Stone Age. So it's not a farm that's got lots of animals and that kind of farm. It's they've got set up lots of different areas for the different stages in history. So they've got a Stone Age village set up, and they've got a Bronze Age village. I think
they've got Romans.
They've got Romans as well.
Romans, Anglo-Saxons.
So we go and we visit the Stone Age village. So there's actual like replicas of Stone Age houses, and they've got the tour guides are absolutely amazing. They've got so much knowledge, and they talk them through what it was like, and they get to sit around an open fire, and they have various workshops. So we did clay pot making last year, and we did
they do weaving
weaving
the making
the wattle for the walls. We did clunching,
clunching, which I've never heard of, but that's making a wall with clay basically.
So they had to smash all the chalk up and mix it and make the mixture to build a wall like they would have done in the Stone Age times. So that's a day out on a coach out. It's in Hampshire, isn't it? Is it Hampshire?
No, it's down near Portsmouth. Yeah, Hampshire.
Yeah, it's off the A3 anyway, so that's a bit further away. And then the falconry expert, we thought we couldn't put Birdman on the on the presentation, but he basically comes from his falconry. It's like you can go and visit there, can't you?
Yes, yeah.
And brings all of his birds of prey with him, and he flew them last year for the children across the field, and tells them all about them, and then they can hold one of them if they want to. They put the big glove on and hold the bird of prey. That's to start our final topic of year 3.
And then we've added on High Ashurst, because that's something we're doing this year. And that's, you've already had a letter out about it, I think, and that's going to happen next half term for year 3. And it's a really, really full-on fun day out with lots of challenges for the children and for us.
Yeah, it's part of our PE curriculum, so it's to cover the outdoor and adventurous activity part of the PE curriculum, because obviously we don't have facilities here like that. So last year they went to Thames Young Mariners and did canoeing and lots of team building things. So this is the same sort of thing. High Ashurst is lots of team building activities, and then is it climbing?
I think it's a wall, or they do different. Yes, I think
yeah, there's like climbing walls and things like that. So it's to cover that part of our PE, but it should be really good fun.
There's a lot more sport things in year 3, I find, compared to Key Stage 1. We really start them off on building up their clubs and getting involved in going to sporting.
Yeah, and their skills, like we're doing tag rugby, aren't we?
Yes.
So we start to teach them the skills to apply to different sports.
PPA is when we teachers get our time to go out and plan, and that happens on a Wednesday afternoon, and Mrs. Hall, Mrs. Dodds and I are out of class, but we have the same teacher in to the other classes all afternoon, and Mrs. Coleman is going to be doing music with them, and Mrs. West does French, and they'll do that with the 2 classes on a Wednesday afternoon, and they will dismiss them.
Yeah, and that'll be for the whole year. Mrs. Coleman's actually been very brave. She's teaching them how to play the recorder. So they've all got their recorder in their tray, and they're learning that every Wednesday afternoon. So they do half the afternoon with Mrs. Coleman doing recorders, and then half with Mrs. West doing French. So test them, ask them what they know in French. We won't be sending the recorders home, I'm afraid. So homework we've sent out this week. So hopefully you found there's a note in front of the large book. They get two books for homework. One of them is a SPAG book. We call it SPAG because when the government first introduced this, it was spelling and grammar. So we introduced it to the children as SPAG, and then they changed it to grammar, punctuation and spelling. So that's why, because some people are sometimes confused by that. So the book is called Grammar, Punctuation and Spelling, but we call it SPAG. So they've got a big book and a little book, which is times tables. So their weekly homework will be, they have to do the pages of the SPAG book that relate to what we're doing in class, and a couple of pages, like one chapter of the times table book as well. In the front of the SPAG book, we've put a little timetable. So it tells you there the date it's given out, the pages they have to do in the maths, the pages they have to do that week for SPAG, and when it's due in as well. So that will always be, we'll get them to take it home on a Wednesday, and then we need it back in the following Monday. So you've got half of a week, the whole weekend, and then the Monday. And we'll always ask them on a Monday if they've got their homework, and if they haven't, we'll remind them to bring them in. So they've got a day in case they do forget. And then Tuesday we get our books out and we mark it all together, so that then if they've had any problems or if there's something they don't understand, we can help them with that and talk them through it. So those are the books that you've got that got sent home this week. On top of that, we also expect daily reading, which is the same as Key Stage 1. So the children need to be reading daily. It doesn't have to be a whole book. It doesn't have to be for half an hour, just 10 minutes. And I've said to my children today, they've all got a book from school which should be of their level that they can read. But if they've got books at home, or we will be going to the library as well, I'm happy for them to read that. If they maybe, as long as, you know, they read their school book a couple of times a week, literally any reading counts. So we do expect them to read, though. We are, you know, we don't read with them as much in Key Stage 2. We have our readers that we will read with them at least once over a week or 2 weeks. Yeah.
But we do expect them to read every day to somebody. They can write it in their reading record, you can write it, and we're trying to get them a little bit more independent, and we expect them to bring it in. And if they haven't read, we just get them to read for 5 minutes at some point during the day, you know, just to keep it up and to get them really loving books basically and enjoying. And we also have slotted into our timetable time going to the library once a week, so they can also get out a library book from the school library.
Yeah, so that they can take that home as well. We'll probably start that from next week as well. The other thing from homework, they've all still got logins for Times Table Rockstars. So that is in their reading records.
It will be.
You'll find that it'll appear in the front of their reading records. It's their logins, and I think they did use it in Year 2, so that should be the same. And they need to do a little bit of that every week as well, if possible. I said to them today, from next week we can change the times tables that they use. So next week I'm going to go on and I will set the times tables that they need for Year 3. If they're struggling with it, I'll give them less. If they can do them, I'll give them more. So if they're finding it too hard or too easy, if you just let us know, we can adjust which times tables they're practicing according to where they are in learning.
Yes, you can even just write a note in their reading records. If you can't see us in the morning, or if you don't catch us, you can always write us a note.
We can adjust that, that's easier. Lexia, some of the children had Lexia accounts last year, which is like a read to help with their reading and their spelling. I think there was only 6 in my class, so it's not all of them by any means. But if they do, that login will be in their reading record as well, so they can have a go at that in their
home.
Yeah, at home as well. Okay, so expectations exactly the same as Key Stage 1, and we've gone up a notch, but it's not any different. So children on time, I think they've all been absolutely fine. So yeah, we take the register at 5 to 9 now, so they've got that 15-minute sort of time to get in and get themselves sorted. So every day you can. Obviously, if they're unwell, keep them at home. And I know we're all being very cautious at the moment with COVID symptoms and things like that, so that is taken into account. But yeah, and so its attendance is supposed to be higher than 96%, but that's, you know, we understand that they do get ill and we're being cautious as well, but any day they can come in, they need to be in. Uniform is the same as well, so the uniform expectations are the same as Key Stage 1. No earrings, no sort of big hair accessories, and I don't think we've anyone that's had dyed hair or shaved
actually,
hair.
I've been quite impressed with that.
Yeah, they've been really
good
neat
so
and tidy.
far. They've been really
tidy.
tidy.
And PE kit is Monday and Friday. So
and we both do PE on Monday and Friday at some point, so that's easy.
Yeah, so they they need to have the school PE kit with the red t-shirt and black shorts or tracksuit bottoms.
And our Grovelands Values, I think the children have had it instilled in them. This is what we follow. We have it up in the classroom. We've done our class rules based on our values: kindness, respect, friendship, uniqueness, trust and determination.
They have an assembly on it every week. Every Monday.
Monday there's an assembly, but I think once a month, if I'm right, it's a values assembly, isn't it?
Yeah.
So change the values. But we always refer back to their values when we're very much, you know, positive praise and reminding them about how to follow the values, and they enjoy it. They they like getting praised for being kind or just trying really hard. So we really do integrate that into every day, what we do every day. And if they're spotted showing their values, we've got lots of different ways of praising them. Like we have praise cards that get sent home every now and then to recognise that. We have our values tokens, which we can now use again, that they put into their houses, and then the house with the most tokens. So they always enjoy doing that. And then we have our class promises, like I said, that that they adhere to, and they've all signed that they will follow.
And they are so.
And they are so far, yeah.
Yeah, so again, this is no different to Key Stage 1. It's a school-wide behaviour system. So they get values tokens if they demonstrate any of their values, if they've done good work, all of those sort of things. We collect them all together in their houses, and then they go into a whole school house box. And then I think they get counted off every term.
Yeah.
It was every term we look and see which house has got the most, and then all the children in that house get a special treat. So I think we do like an extra playtime or something before, like yeah. So there's something to work for there. We have our certificates as well. So we give out certificates for good behaviour on a Wednesday. We choose one child. We choose somebody for achievement on a Friday. We do a writer of the week on a Friday as well. And we've got a growth mindset tea, which is going on every Friday. Mr. Tuck is taking one child that's been nominated from each class. So it's Key Stage 1 one week, Key Stage 2 the next, who's shown shown the values really well, shown good growth mindset in that they don't give up, they're keeping, they've had a good positive attitude that week. So there's lots of rewards to try and get everybody to have something that they're doing well.
So obviously, if you have any concerns or if you need to speak to any of us, first of all, the child should always come and chat to us or talk to anyone they feel comfortable with, really. Anyone they feel comfortable with in the school. If they're upset about something, then we always appreciate it if you let us know as well, so that we can help them deal with it in class. You can even write us a note, or if there's an issue that's happened with other children, please do come to us. We will try and resolve it in school as much as we can. And we're here to as part of our job to make sure the children are as happy in school as they can be, and then when they're happy and they're settled, they learn better. So anything that's going on at home, do keep us aware. We'll be the same. It's a two-way street. We'll also make sure you're aware of everything. And if you have any concerns, then please do come to us, or if we need to escalate it, then we can do that as well. I think that's everything, isn't it? And
yeah, I mean, if obviously that some of you may not be able to get into school, if you can't get into school, if you just send a message to info@Grovelands, to the office, then they will forward it to us, and we can always give you a ring at some time and talk it through if that's more convenient. But there's kind of, so the first port of call is always the class teacher. If it doesn't get resolved after you've spoken to us, then it's the phase leader. So the phase leader is me. So if that's Giraffes, that's fine, you can come to me. If it's Antelopes, then you'll have to skip that phase and go to the next one, which will be someone on the senior leadership team, which is Mr. Tuck, Mrs. Coleman.
So I think the leadership team decided that parents' consultations will be in autumn and spring, and I'm not quite sure when yet, but we'll let you know as soon as.
I think the autumn ones are
twice a year.
Yeah, so we do them twice a year, one in the autumn, one in the spring term. If you've got a child that's on the SEND register, then you will get invited to an extra meeting every term, because we obviously set those children extra targets. So we want to talk through what those targets are so that we can work through them at school and at home as well, if appropriate. So those are the main parents' meetings that will be going on. So remote learning, again, I hope it doesn't come to this, but most of your children will be in school. If your child does test positive for COVID, then obviously they have to isolate. So we will then in that situation provide remote learning if they are well enough to do it, obviously. So only if they don't have symptoms but they've tested positive and they are able to complete work. I think, Mr. Tuck, is it correct we're only providing work if it's COVID that they're off for? Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct, and that's because children no longer need to isolate as a close contact. So actually the only time they wouldn't be in school would be if they themselves have symptoms, then you seek a test and they test positive, then they wouldn't be in school, they'd need to stay at home. Obviously, sometimes children can test positive without having any symptoms, or their symptoms might go very quickly and they might then be well enough to work, in which case we could send something. But obviously the first priority in that circumstance would be making sure they rest up and get better. So actually at the moment the circumstances where remote learning would happen are quite limited. Obviously, if there was a situation where we were beyond a certain threshold in terms of COVID cases in the school, then it's possible that there might be some more time at home, and then we would obviously increase the offer as and when. But as Mrs. Hall said, hopefully that won't be necessary. Okay, that does bring us to the end of the session. So can I start by saying thank you so much to Mrs. Hall and Mrs. Norfolk for that really informative run through year 3. Can I also say thank you to you all for coming? We know you all have very busy lives and you've taken time out of your day to attend. So thank you so much. The session has been recorded, so we will share that with parents too, so you can catch up. You might be watching this back on record, and thank you for doing so. There was one question about swimming. Now, typically swimming is year 2 and year 5, but obviously year 2 missed that last year, didn't they? So it might be that we're looking at doing that again if we do it, it would be in the spring or the summer rather than this term. But we'll communicate with that with you about that in due course. We are aware that they missed that last year, and we'll need to kind of follow up on that at some point soon. Another one from me just around the parent meetings. So the parent meetings will be after half term. They'll be in the second week after half term when we come back in November. And they will actually be done online virtually, just because we still feel at this time that as cases rise, it's not at the moment sensible to have that many people with face-to-face contact in the hall. So we'll be doing that online virtually in the same way we have done in the past. And we'll basically keep that under review term by term. As and when we can get back into the hall and have those face-to-face meetings, we will do, but it's just not the time to do that yet. Now, there weren't any other questions that came through, but if anyone has a question that they think everyone would benefit from, you're welcome just to unmute yourself now and then just share that question with us. We'll give you a moment to do so.
On the health part, not on the education. Is this just
Okay, I'm taking that as a sign that there aren't any questions, but if you do have an individual question, please do see Mrs. Hall or Mrs. Norfolk or Mrs. Dodds next week and just ask away. We hope that you found that useful, and we look forward to seeing you all really soon. Have a great weekend. Take care, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye. Thanks.